Good morning. It is Sunday, the 29th of May, 2022. And again, yesterday was another busy, long day of catching up on social media stuff. And then my side stuff like Telegram and Signal, the stuff that you're not going to see on mainstream media. And it led me down all of these different rabbit holes of research again. And so I am just, I don't know, more confused than ever. Anyway, yeah, just like a lot going on, but I threw out a few tweets regarding like notice the difference, and that is something that is in a lot of newspapers that you read, and like on social media apps now and stuff like that too, and even like books and stuff like that, where you have like circle, you notice the differences, and again, that's another example of something that like sort of ingrains in us, that we need to just constantly look for differences. And I've often wondered if there's a like, why? Is it to entertain us, or is it to kind of manipulate us into internalizing that and projecting that onto others in society, and keeping us perpetually stuck, right? So I wanted to talk about the individual versus the collective. And so I was saying, notice the difference, and why do we constantly look for differences, especially in identity politics and religion and cults and so many different things. But yeah, the individual versus the collective, it's so important. And so we need to find more and more commonalities, and embrace differences too, right? But that's the point, right? Anyway, I want to talk about the book, Dying to Live. It's The Cost of Finding Purpose in the Post-Outcomes Modern World, and it's by Jeff Watson, who I know personally. Anyways, we've been talking a lot about this over the last few years, and other things regarding current events and past events. But this book is one of the best books I've ever read in my life, and I don't think I'm coming at this from a personal bias, because I am. Once you know better, you do better, right? So like, I've made hard decisions, and where I've had to like remove kind of emotion and personal bias in order to make the right decision for the ultimate good for the collective and the individual. Anyways, where I was going with that? Oh yeah, that book talks a lot about how we are just doing things kind of possibly like the opposite of how we should be doing that. And so with like constantly trying to find differences, and with identity politics and pronouns being another big thing now, like 87,000 new pronouns we have to somehow memorize, which is again not something that's going to be universally adopted even in the English language, right? Because even other countries that are not part of the US or Canada, who's pushing this more than anyone, and actually legalizing, like making this part of like the law now too, with pronouns where we have to identify as a certain gender or whatever. Anyway, all just things that keep us even on a subconscious level like stuck in these kind of like lower states. And yeah, like even like titles. We all look at titles before we look at the person, and that's how we like evaluate people. It's based on their title, and again, titles mean nothing, in my humble opinion, if you're not a good person, right? And so this whole transhuman movement that's going on as well, this is completely like, it goes against nature, like not only just human nature, but like animal nature. I'm saying transhuman, but like just trans movement, like it goes against any species, right? And I don't think that that's something that's getting pushed necessarily by like people that actually want to make change, that are in positions where they can make change. I think that they're just getting kind of censored or threatened, which again is not a good enough excuse anymore, or I don't know, manipulated. Who knows? Just like not able to do anything about it. But when we have like AI, artificial intelligence bots that are replacing humans and that are replacing animals, there's very obvious concerns I have for that, right? Because the people that are running these companies are going to want to profit off of these very expensive designs and stuff like that. And it's not going to benefit you and me, I assure you, or anything. And yeah, and then just talking about like a population issue right now where we're somehow overpopulated, but then like we're going to be underpopulated very, very soon. And again, these are all what's just being said um, by people that can uh, profit and benefit from saying these things and trying to have that as our perception of reality. And so, yeah, like we're just ruining, not ruining, but we're misleading people into harming themselves, and by doing that, they're harming others. And so, like, this is where the whole cycle is. And so, this book it's all about that, right? It talks about a whole lot of different examples throughout history where we we exploit resources and people, and we do it in a way that paints people again like against each other and vilifies the other group, and again, it's just like not being able to see the bigger picture where I don't know, there's just yeah, I went on this tangent yesterday on research and lost history, and there's just like a lot of more compelling evidence on photographs that had been taken once we've been provided the ability to do such, take photos anyway, where they're claiming that certain infrastructure, like whatever you want to call it, coliseums or stadiums or monuments, anyway, different monuments, religious, in certain areas, it's the exact same pictures, right? And so these are completely different countries, like Greece and Egypt and Spain, and so we're led to believe so many different things, but who knows, right? Because again, like why in on websites, and why on publications, and why in books that are supposed to be like encyclopedias and Britannica, um, um, like legit like war monument like preservation organizations. I don't even know these groups, right? But like why are they showing the same images and footage of the same things from like completely different areas and calling them completely different things? And so we're being led to believe that these things were possibly created within the last 100 years, and then just played off to be older than what they are. And then because there wasn't the ability to travel, if you weren't rich, didn't have the capacity to do so over extended distances, then you just like are you going to verify it? No. And that's why they want us to stay stuck and not travel, is because once we communicate again, like the jig is up a little bit more. And so I have traveled a lot pre-pandemic, and so I was already like very suspicious of things. And then once you go like outside the wire, so to speak, in different countries, and don't just go in the cities, and then you actually talk to locals and then older people as well, then you get to see different sides of stories, and why things are the way they possibly are. And I was raised basically in a nursing home. I know that sounds weird, but like my grandmother was, she co-owned one or worked in one for so many years. And so my sister and I would go every summer and winter whenever we were visiting our grandparents and family for the holidays, and loved it, loved it. But yeah, and so there was this woman I spoke to that she lived to be 100 before she passed away when I was anyway, I was 19 at the time. But yeah, she would tell me a lot of stories. Like she went through a lot, like two different wars, and she was a nurse and saw some stuff, and hard life. hard life. Anyway, and very interesting life too. And she was very, very brilliant. And even again, like in her late 90s, we were doing aerobic workouts. And I was doing her makeup still and doing her hair, and I thought it looked great, but whatever. Like, I guess some people were a little shocked with like the really blue eyeshadow and pink lipstick. But anyway, or the red. Anyway, it was fun. But you learn a lot too, like when you actually talk to people. Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. I've done volunteer work as a facilitator through Discovery University, University of Ottawa, just like where we just go over questions from the person that teaches the subject by semester, and gives homeless people or transient people like additional credits or a better resume, um, and like the ability to have these kind of discussions, um, um, again, just to have the ability to get out, improve their lives in different ways. And so and you'd be surprised how smart like they are, right? And so like brilliant. And like oftentimes there's just like cataclysmic events that happen that just lead people to be in more difficult times, and it's really hard to get out once you're in it, especially when you're going against a system that is designed to fail you and keep you stuck, and then make you happy to be stuck because you are aware of. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so brilliant conversations. And so actually some of my most interesting conversations have been during these facilitator groups, and they're always needing more volunteers to help like run the courses and manage the weekly Zoom sessions. And it's been Zoom now, it's not in person because of the whole pandemic thing, which yeah, and the mandates already. But before that, it was in various locations like churches and anyway, you name it. And yeah, so like a lot of like lost history seems to be a little bit more interesting too. And so like I was saying this yesterday as well, but hidden symbology in so many different ancient texts and hieroglyphs, and again, like I'm questioning a lot of languages now, and again how recent they are, and again because there's compelling evidence that's coming out with people that have gone to certain areas and taken photos, um, and there's a lot of questions about the possibility of even like tracks being in certain areas where they shouldn't be, and it just doesn't make any sense, right? And yeah, and so the reason why this is all important is because this might possibly be just like another way, like this whole like transhuman movement. We're again now like there's like sculptures out with like both genitalia and then breasts, and then like women of the year being men of the year, being actual men, biological men, and then what's being taught in schools at a very, very, very young age. And again, with I've studied cognitive sciences at Carleton University, and there's like neuroscience in there as well, like the scientific, not the, I don't know if there's an arts aspect to it, but anyway, and then like cognitive development, and I've taken child psychological development and stuff like that too. And but again, these are science based courses that are fairly complicated, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it just talks about like the development of the brain, and there's like a certain age where between the ages of 3 to 6, I'd say, but like 5 being the average, where the child's brain is developing like the neurons and stuff like that, at an accelerated rate, and more so than any other period in time, and then it slowly, gradually levels out and whatever. But we can actually still regenerate neurons, by the way, throughout our lives, and it has a lot to do with how you treat it, just like every other organ. But where was I going with that? Anyway, this stuff is just so rough on the brain. Oh yeah, this transhuman stuff. And so um like we're supposed to like the society's supposed to procreate, right? And so if only 20% of a population is procreating, then we're going to need to have more and more immigration in order to sustain that population. Because again, we need I guess community based, right? We need people to do like labor work. And again, we would be fine with doing these things if we were not lied to, if we were not manipulated, and again and uh, like everything. Anyways, it's just frustrating. Once you know better, you do better. And so like even me, there's a lot more about the world that I know, and I'm still willing to um like like not be a garbage human being, and at least try not to be, right? And try not to be like what you don't want to see in the world, because again, like that is not what works. And what you resist persists, right? And so like even with pornography, um it's that also like enables so many different things, right? There, again, there's butterfly effect with pornography. It's something that has to become more and more shocking and edgy in order to feed certain people's needs once they become I you know adjusted to it or desensitized to it. And that is a reality of life, and anyone that says it's not is in a dream world, and again harming all of us, because we have to wake up and actually have these conversations and not just dismiss them, because again, we're just easily manipulated on social media, the platforms that are using us um, and want us on these things. They're the ones that are saying don't listen to the people that are saying it's bad. uh, of course they're going to say that, right? Like like they don't want you to not buy their products or watch their shows and all these things. And but just yeah, if you even just compare how people treated people, like even at concerts and events um, and dialogue that was recorded, again, even like just a couple decades ago, we were just a lot more mindful and respectful, and there was no attacking people on a personal level when trying to have open and honest debates, and there was no going around the point. There was no lying and deceiving. And then again, like there's the Stoics and philosophers of the ancient times too, like which is when you read the chronicles and the texts and the journals and stuff like that, it just seems like they were just a lot more, I guess, reflective, meditative. I don't know, and but like mindful of others, and like just allowed people to speak and didn't speak over them and didn't make fun of them and didn't dismiss them and didn't induce fear and shame and all these lower level emotions. And this is again why we're not able to have conversations, because all we're doing is just noticing differences um, as a way to find meaning and purpose in our lives, because everything is just so much easier now than it used to be. But if on an individual level, we just try to be healthy and do like the purposeful suffering, I guess, what Jeffrey would likely say, but way smarter than me. But yeah, like again, he ties in the whole like cycles of life and how we repeat it and call it different things or use different tactics and techniques, and I really do see the correlations with the vaccines and the pandemics that are ongoing right now, and just based off of what people are telling us and what's being released to people like me, and it's just so misguided. So misguided. Yeah, like even making fun of us. Like I can share that story, but anyway, like one of the elites in Davos, literally being filmed like eating fries and a burger and just saying like, "Oh, look at me! Like this is what I get when when I get a vaccine. Yum yum yum, yum yum yum. Vaccine please, vaccine please." Because again, like they're not taking them. They're not taking the vaccines, and they've been recorded, and they've publicly said that they wouldn't take them or give them to their children. And I've given ample data to to prove that, again, like there's what happens is things are leaked or made up. um, and then media is called and they get these dummies, they get these groups of people. I say dummies because, again, they like it's like how many hundreds of years or decades do we have to do this before you wake up? And how many, like, people are not actually reading their emails, because I know so many people that have contacted media and just said we need to stop this, because if you're going to call yourself news and get $600 million a year of our money, then you need to stop lying, deliberately lying to us and just reading off the script. Where was I going with that again? Because it just makes me so mad. Yeah, the media lying to us. Yeah, so they go and then they film actors or people that, you know, did actually get something injected into them or leaked or whatever, and or sick with something else, and just like, anyways, whatever it is. And again, it could even be like a possible side effect from like another vaccine and then just called something else. Because again, even with monkeypox, there was chimpanzee adenovirus vector, whatever you want to call it, recumbent. Anyway, that were put in the vaccines for COVID. And so, like, I shared the labels for even like AstraZeneca, where it even says it on it. And again, and so again, it's rinse, repeat, right? And so the media goes in, and then like people watch the media, and they're saying there's so many cases, and it's 1 million, and it's gonna be so much more. We got to pay attention to this. And sometimes there's hidden symbology in the numbers they use too, right? So sacrificial numbers being 73, and then there's like 33, 23, like, anyways, you name it. And then don't get caught up in too much hidden symbolism, because like then you're gonna start finding connections literally everywhere. So just be mindful. That you also don't want to paint yourself in any boxes and just see the world in a different way. Yeah. So, and then the media scares everyone, intimidates everyone, and then they get their scientists and their the doctors and the charities and the Red Cross and the other NGOs that are, again, at the higher levels. Again, they're all playing us and playing the people that are working for them. Even the military industrial complex, it gets at the higher levels, right? It's not the lower levels where people like they think that they're doing the right thing and helping. And law enforcement, the same thing, right? They think that they're helping, but they're just getting like a really lied to. Yeah, and it's just tribal leaders. I know this is going to be, again, like a touchy subject, but even tribal leaders, especially like in Canada, like I could talk more to. Like there's a reason why there's like a lot of like reserve areas that are in like the northern areas of Canada, and like austere conditions and human trafficking and child and abductions, I guess, at all ages, not just children, but yeah. And the tribal leaders at the higher ends, like they have, for however long you want to talk about it too, have been working directly with the colonials that revisited, you know, like from various different countries. Yeah, possibly not even just European, obviously, like from Serbia and obviously the South too, and stuff like that. So yeah, there's just a lot more interesting stories about that too, and how even like the Queen and other people visited like tribal areas, and even religious areas too, like when Canada was like less and less of a population. Again, because again, we wiped out people and then repopulated, and then wiped out people and then repopulated, and again, we just, and then I guess with the more people, the more cooperation, and the more there's no choice but to tolerate people if you want to kind of like cohabitate to a certain degrees, which is why we're sort of making it work in Canada. But again, like once you put like rules like and restrictions in Quebec, for example, with French and English, and you make it where, you know, signs need to be in French, or they need to be bilingual, or like, again, you're going to get people from all sides that are going to get upset about this because they think that their language is being attacked, right? When there's like a lot of, ancient history in Quebec that is, like that's like there's so many different cultures, like humans, individuals, whatever you want to call it, species of humans that have that like were in that area and still are, and so yeah, it's just interesting how we don't just cooperate instead of what we often do. Um, yeah, so the individual versus the collective. Um, what that means, again, like I was saying before, is being healthy, like being mindful of what you eat, being mindful of what you drink, or being more mindful of like what you, again, like what you put on your skin, what you wash your hair with, um, like your daily activities, like your thought process, like just like where, like how you manage your stress and your emotions and things like that. These are all really important because, like, if you're not sleeping right, for example, you can be irritable. Like if you don't drink, filtered healthy water, then you can become dehydrated. And like if you don't breathe properly, like if you don't breathe at all, you die. Anyway, there's just if you don't work out, then or move around, like doing yoga, walks, hikes, lifting weights, body weight exercises, like whatever. Like when we don't do these things, we tend to rust, so to speak, as well. Just like vehicles, when you keep them parked, like it's not good for them. They need to move around a little bit, put oil in and lubricate certain areas and change tires every once in a while and all that stuff. So yeah, and like just like making sure that we are mindful of things that we can change, because the healthier we are in all aspects of our lives, um, again, this is where we access our higher levels of emotions or consciousness or whatever, and thinking beyond ourselves instead of being stuck in this like ego, narcissistic kind of like ideology we're kind of perpetuating because people are just not wanting to grow up and start families. And when you don't have a family or create something, then how can you know or understand, like on a like beyond yourself or anything, right? Like, so like who are you to give, honestly, like you just don't have the experience or the expertise to um, manage or make decisions for others, right? It's by learned and lived experience. And this is, for example, like why Joe Biden, like his Hunter Biden, and his laptop was released, and there's a lot of gross criminal things on there, and that ties him also to biolabs in the Ukraine, and ties him to China, and his father as well, and again, we like people were lied to about that, and because of that, like the elections turned out a different way. But anyway, even that, like elections are they need to be changed because they've always been rigged from the start, right? Like even like in Canada, for our current political parties name and their names and their colors and stuff like that. Again, there's no coincidence as to why red and blue and left and right, conservative, liberal, it's all, they're both wings of the same bird, I guess. Um, and so we just need to be more mindful that like people are trying to get in cabinet, like even me, like I've emailed like multiple people, and I have for years, and I've offered just like feedback on so many different things, economy, um, oh yeah, just like so many different things, um, and like they don't care, they don't respond back. Like actually, you try to find ways to become leaders of smaller just like parties and stuff like that, but then like they're already taken by people that are friends of it's like it's never ending, and yeah, and so what do you do? So yeah, tribal leaders have been a part of this as well for since the beginning, and quite possibly like the tribal leaders now, or anyway, like they're like again all over the world, It's not just them though too, so it's religious leaders as well. So calling out names, but Sadhguru is like, I do have questions about him and his wife dying questionable deaths, um, claiming that she just decided that she was gonna die and because she thought that she manifested it. Cool. And that he was meditating and accessed his higher levels of consciousness. Like I think it was like he was in this meditative state for weeks, but there's no proof. There's a couple pictures that show him just like meditating, and then and then again, like people can be so easily convinced. And again, I'm not saying that these things are not true, but again, don't default, just believe things and then get the media to go or journalists and stuff like that, and then get them to be misled as well, and then just like not even see it or not even care, and then just post this garbage anyways. But there's no videos of him doing it for this extended period of time. And again, there was videos. There was cameras back then. There was video cameras. There was like, so again, there's like, this is something that should have been recorded, right? Especially if it was in such a public area. Oh my goodness. So I just have questions. Political leaders. Again, like even our leader right now too, right? Like there's, like he's even said it at a young age where there's like magical lands and top secret places, and that his father was special and weird things. And he's just, again, like he causes so much division and hate, like he did with the with the construction workers too, like a few years ago, and basically calling them like over sexualized, like criminals basically, and like just like I guess when they were doing construction work downtown, which is where our parliament buildings are, I guess they were claiming that they were like whistling at women or objectifying them. It's like, oh my god, are we back to this stuff? And first of all, JT, like again, some of your security have leaked photos and videos of what you do on your spare time, and so way, 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 way worse than a man winking at a woman. And I would say, I would smile. You know what I mean? Or again, like not if it's like assess a threat, and that's like your own individual responsibility. And so like the more you make the solution beyond yourself, the more harm that you're actually causing other people, the more work you're causing for other people, the more effort you're causing for other people, and it's just causing you to be more out of tune with reality and life and true suffering and purpose and meaning. So again, even if you start a family, again, like oh, we need to find ways to for our time because like we have all this free time now, blah blah blah. Like, bro, have you tried raising kids? This is what I mean. It's all people that have had their children raised by other people, their nannies and their families, and again, they've never hurt or wanted for money or for like chores being done for them, like they literally don't understand that like people really don't have a lot of time in the day. Like even me with animals, for example, and I want to have children still, and this is something I wanted in relationships for like my whole life, and yeah, they can all confirm that as well. Not all, the few long-term relationships I've been in. I don't do the whole anyway. Yeah, where was going with political leaders? Oh yeah, like and they all like again like hang out in like the same areas, like the Swiss Alps and the Jeffrey Epstein's island. that's um that's actually, yeah, those people are the ones I'm talking about. I'm not saying that all political leaders or all religious leaders or all celebrities or all tribal leaders, like obvious educational, medical, pharmaceutical, scientific. I'm not saying that they're all corrupt, but I'm saying that like the ones at the higher levels are, and they're really good and have been really good at convincing the ones under them that that they need to either go along with it for various different reasons, and or they're just so stuck in their own lives that they're just not paying attention. Because I think I made an example of this, but like I shared a video on like the cosmic rays propaganda film that came out a few decades ago. Where was I going with that, Dan? Sometimes I lose my train of thought. Propaganda films. They're not all bad, though. They just confuse us. And so, like, there was one part in that cosmic rays video, a lot of parts, but where they talk about the science. Oh, like they're like about like the Earth and the magnetic poles and stuff like that. But then again, it's just like, oh yeah, and blah 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 blah, and then 10 - 3 to the power of 2, and then na 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 na, and they do it in such a monotone way, in a low voice. These are all like designed to like bore people or make them not want to tune in or pay attention, right? Like especially when you're monotone. But then when you're monotone and you're talking about like math or things that sound like just complicated, and then you add in like exponentials and like fractions and stuff like that, and and further again extend this whatever algorithm, then people tune out and they just get bored and they don't want to do it anymore, and they don't want to listen anymore, and it gets worse and worse and worse as the generations get more again acclimatized or accustomed to this type of learning. I don't know, or communicating, I guess is what I would say. But yeah, so I can see how people are so focused on memorizing these like really like hard to memorize things, especially like derivatives, and oh my god, it's just a lot of work. And I've done props and stats, I've done calculus, I've done physics, I've done chemistry, I've done whatever, like finite stuff and science, and anyway, yeah, so like they're all part of like the same groups, and there's a lot of questions too about it, like even in the 1700s, where there were I don't even know how I can even describe people anymore without offending anyone, but I would say black, because when we say African American, when we say Jamaican, when we say like we're say whatever we want, like but it just confuses the narrative and the history as well, right? So so this guy, like in the 1700s, he owned like over like well over 100 acres of land, but it might have been 180. But and he was black, and his wife was black, and they were not slaves, and they were very very brilliant. Like apparently he he wrote books on like astronomy, and then he like was really really good with navigation, and he was really good at an expert gardener, and then there were very prominent colonials, whatever you want to call them, that actually they worked with him, they hung out. And again, like more ancient history too, where there were again like people of different skin colors, whatever, that were in relationships. And again, this was like not uncommon of those times, and so it wasn't even seen as something that was an issue. And this is again where I'm saying perception is reality. And so if this is the case, then this could possibly be again where history was rewritten. And it's easy to do because you only need like a generation or two to convince the children, like force and confine the adults who raise the children, I guess, that pass this down. And then it gets even more complicated, and that's why like I do highly recommend this book, because like this really is a good read on how I don't know, that we can like become like more aware of these things, and then question like science, medicine. We can question like quantum physics and quarks, and we can question if the world is a globe or not, and we can question religions, and we can do it in a non-judgmental way, and not just assume that, excuse me, our way is the right way, when there's no right or wrong. There's just there just is. That's what it is. Yeah, and then we can just like learn from like what actually works and what doesn't. So we do have good models now in so many different countries, with clearly, by looking at the not only the people, but looking at the educational systems, looking at the treatment of all humans, male and female, children, um, and then again looking at animals. How are the animals treated? Then looking at the environment. How is the environment treated? How has this impacted people? Who did it? Why they did it, so that we can understand and learn from it, and then not do these things again, would be the way ahead. And again, this is not, again, doing things like that like for the majority. This is literally doing things for at the individual level, so that you can be there. Butterfly effect. It starts with you. It starts like a line starts with a point. A novel starts with a pen. I don't know. And oh yeah, and so like raising healthy children would be, and being again like more mindful and cooperative and empathetic and understanding of others. And again, even when I read the history books, when they're talking about different groups, like the one like crusades or other like religious wars, and there when you call people barbarians, and then you classify this group as being like so many different negative things without even knowing anything about them, right? Like again, it's like when people gossip, right? Like you could say anything you want about like a person that you hate, right? Like, oh yeah, she's stupid. Yeah, she's fat, you know. And then and again and whatever, and you want to uh, anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, but classifying people as certain groups in history, and then you're reading this like barbarians, and then you associate barbarians with certain groups because they're described as such. And again, we're supposed to believe this stuff, or we're expected to, and then why lie about stuff when, like, even again when you look at books that were like, if you can't go and see these things for yourself, then like again, like it just like even the text doesn't match the photos, like. Or the paintings and the murals, and so we have to again question these things more. I know I'm going on this huge tangent. It's over 40 minutes already, but I just wanted to get that out in the ether, and because yeah, it's just all interesting stuff. So on that note, I probably missed. Oh yeah, and oh yeah, so individual versus collective, like that's the thing that I also want to point out too. But it doesn't mean succumbing to peer pressure. It doesn't mean like blindly obeying the majority just because that's what the majority are doing. Because again, like even in a democracy, even if 51% of people want to do something a certain way, that's still 49% of people that don't, right? And so this is why if we just like um, cooperate and try to understand and find commonalities between each other, this is literally what helps make people again like less stressed, like less in fight or flight mode, um, and then able to access these higher levels of awareness. But like when we come at each other like with such division, like even again like with pronouns, and then just embracing not being able to fit in is like this is what causes um, you also to like not have like meaningful relationships, which again benefits you and it benefits others as well. And yeah. And so on that note, I hope that everyone has a good Sunday. Yeah.